Today is the day. We are going to get this garage built. In case you're just joining us, yesterday we worked on getting the panels installed on either side of the large garage door. And late last night, about 10:30 or 11, I was working on getting the header built that's going to span those two panels. So this is what the house will look like when we're all done. We'll have a man door here and a small garage door here. This is about an 8-footer and that's a 16-footer. What we were working on last night or yesterday was struggling to understand how all of these panels relate to each other. The way this is drawn and the way it's going to be built were very confusing. So we mentioned yesterday, even though we have a set of plans, this house is by no means an IKEA house. We still have to verify things and do a lot of kind of computations or figuring to determine how to build things. What we're working on right now is this built by others beam, and let me kind of take you through what I got done last night. Of course, with all the work and patience to be ready for SIPs, it would seem silly to have this highly uninsulated header taking the place of a highly efficient SIP. We need this header for strength. The garage doors are going to mount to this header and they're going to produce a lot of torque right here on this beam as that garage door operates, because there's going to be a large spring that will make the door light and easy to operate. That doesn't mean that we have to give up insulation though. So what we've done is we've used 1 3/4 LVL on either side for extreme strength and rigidity. And in the middle, we're going to be using 2-inch and 1-inch sheet foam, and this is XPS, expanded polystyrene. In the middle, to kind of help us get the thickness that we need and also to provide additional rigidity, we're using 3/4-inch plywood. The goal here is to build a header that will slide right between the skins of the OSB on the SIP panel. One thing we learned right away when we got the SIPs is that even though this dimension here where that header is going to sit is supposed to be 7 1/4, man, 7 1/4 is really tight. So we've been ripping our lumber down to 7 1/8 to make it slide in nice and easy. Of course, we're not installing things at eye level and on the ground level. We're installing them from high up on ladders, and so fitment really needs to be fairly easy instead of having to jockey and move things, putting us in danger. It just so happens that the gap between the two LVLs is perfectamondo for a 2x4 to fill this. And this will be the nailer plate for the trim on the inside of the garage door. So if you can just imagine this all trimmed out, you won't see any of it. It'll look beautiful. Something that clicked for me just the other day while we were working on furring strips is that we have a ton of 3/4-inch plywood in our boneyard from the ICFs and from our footings. And it dawned on me after we'd already milled up or sawed up a bunch of full sheet plywood, which really sucked. So I've been looking for any excuse to burn up all of this kind of leftover plywood. And it just so happens that a bunch of it is nearly the perfect dimension for these headers. So that's a win. How's your energy this morning? Are you feeling rested?
I am.
Me too. Yeah, this is the first morning where we haven't had something ballistically crazy going on for almost 2 straight weeks, including weekends.
I'm hoping we could finish the garage at a minimum, and I would be elated if we could start on a bunch of south panels.
I agree. Yeah, I think yesterday was very much working the kinks out of the system. I think today we can knock it out. We do have a bit of a challenging thing to do. We've got to lift this header up using the backhoe and put it in that pocket right there. That's going to require some good skills and teamwork from Alyssa and I. So the first thing I need your help with this morning is getting the measurement for that opening. We talked about this yesterday. We were going to cut all this stuff before the SIPs arrived. We were going to be so stinking ready. We were going to be like crazy ready for these SIPs, right? And then I was like, wait a second. Maybe we should wait until they actually get on the ground. I mean, because this header alone, if you're curious, is about $500 of lumber. Yeah, so we would have been short by 3/4 of an inch. For some reason, even though we spent months working with our SIP company, getting the dimensions of our panels and the drawings fairly perfect, when these panels showed up, they're not the correct length. There's a 3/4 inch setback right there between the sill and that panel, and that pushes this lumber spline back 3/4 of an inch, which widens the gap, the opening for the garage door by the same 3/4 of an inch. If we would have cut this header already before the SIP panels would have got here, we would have had to reorder the material and of course pay for it again at a massive expense. And odds are pretty good. Actually, I know for a fact that the other side, the 8-foot garage door, it's the same way. We provided as-built dimensions to the SIP company, and somehow when they produced the panels, they didn't get those dimensions correct. So we're kind of working on the fly. This is just one of those things that waiting a little while, massive difference. Even though we really want to work in the shade as much as we can today, this guy is going to have to get put together outside. Alyssa and I can barely lift one of these LVLs together. 2 of them and all the extra materials, there's no way we're going to be able to lift that to get it outside once it's put together. So I have 16 feet, 5 7/8. So if we made it 5 1/2, that's going to give us a little bit of fudge. Guess who I caught in the house last night?
Bugaboo.
Bugaboo. Should we see if there's any cat prints in the windowsills?
He was on the window, right? Which window was he
I
in?
think he was on the east wall.
I don't see any kitty cat
Well,
prints.
it's pretty dry right now, so you're not going to catch him in the act, but he was up here last night, that little turd. That's about a 1/16 out of square. That one's pretty good. Oof. That one's a 1/4 inch out of square. This one will need to be cut square before we can make a measurement and then cut the other end. One thing we learned when we were framing our floor was that these engineered products, they make them really long. I think they might even be up to like 40 feet or 44 feet long. And when you order them by the foot. But they come in, I think, 2-foot increments. So we bought one piece of this material that was 26 feet, even though we only needed 2 pieces, a 9 and a 17. See how that worked out? The problem is when they cut it wherever, at the yard or something, I don't know if they use a chainsaw or what, but the cuts are never square. A lot of times they'll give you an inch or 2 extra, and that's so you can make a squaring cut. In this case, we need to do that. The other end is horrible. This end's not too bad. Mucho better.
I've been sent on a mission to get a couple of 2x4s from our boneyard.
Perfect. So we need 2 boards to cap the end of this. They should be 13.5 inches long.
Okay.
And then we'll get this longer insert piece moved down, which will give us the measurement for that end. And then we should be able to start putting mastic and screws in. Because our beam length is going to be 16 feet 5 1/2, and we have 2 strips of 8-foot long foam, there's actually going to be about a 5 1/2 inch gap here in the middle. I pondered what to do there, whether to add a block of lumber to kind of cinch the middle together and create some more strength. I think what we're going to do is just drill in and actually fill that void with foam once the beam is completely built.
Ready for the next side?
Yeah, it's getting hot.
I know, I had to go take my cotton shirt off. It's too hot. We're all done, but we learned something about tightening. If you tighten the heck out of one side, then it actually lifts the other side up. So when we went to screw down this side, the dimension was 7 1/8, and this side was 7 1/4. Does it matter? I don't know, but it was pretty simple for us to back all these screws out, and then we cutely screwed in at the same time, one on each side. Ready to raise?
Nope. Gotta put the plywood on.
Oh.
I know, right?
So this whole beam, as is gonna sit in that pocket, and we're gonna add plywood to meet up with the OSB of the SIPs. So what we didn't take into account is we need this OSB to cover the shoe.
Header.
The header.
Yeah.
And it wasn't cut long enough, but it's okay because we're gonna put it back where it was. And then there's really no rush to put another like 1.5 inch strip right here, but we can do that later, so we will.
It's just for siding, so it didn't mean anything yet. Oh yeah.
Are these every 9 inches on center?
No.
But
No, we just maybe need about every, I think 18 inches or so should be fine. We've already got so much hardware in this beam, like it's pretty strong. Park the backhoe on it. One of the things this project has taught us a lot about is hardware. When we were building our deck, we were kind of struggling to think of how to fasten different things together. And in fairly recent times, I don't know what that means really, but in the last few years, there's been a new market developed for lag screws that are designed to kind of take the place of lag bolts. And we've learned to use a lot of them. So these can be acquired for under $1, maybe about 70 cents a piece, until you get to a certain length, and then they start blowing up in cost. We actually need to use a bunch of these to adhere our brackets, the timber frame brackets, to the SIP panels. We've also had to up our bit game. Every one of these companies seems to want to create a proprietary bit for their screw. So the screws that we're using for the SIPs use a completely different bit than these screws, even though they're basically the same screw. So now we have this collection of exotic bits, some of which you use all the time and others you use once. Thankfully, Brian, who came to help us with the SIPs, actually had some of the spline bits that we needed for the SIP panels. Otherwise, we would have been high and dry, only to find out about a day later when we cracked open a new bucket of screws that there was a bunch of bits in the bucket, which is typical. Usually when you buy a bucket of screws, they give you a bit. For whatever reason, we didn't get them in the first bucket and almost derailed the project.
you can feel it going through the layers.
I was gonna say, it kind of feels like you're going through an Oreo, huh?
Or a cake or something.
Or a cake. Let's see, that was frosting, that was cake, that was frosting, that was cake.
Ready to do this?
Yeah, I'm thinking we should throw a tagline on there for you, just so you got something you can kind of manipulate it with up in the air.
Come straight in and it'll pivot down there. Raw teamwork. Dropped it.
Kind of need to wiggle it. You're in over here. You're in over here. There you go.
It's stuck on something.
Yeah, it's stuck over here.
A third person would be really awesome, but we don't have that. That's good. That's good.
Okay,
Okay, come over here. I got it.
So hold this down. It wants to come up. Just hold it down,
Okay.
and then I'm gonna try to lower this.
Okay.
And I'm just gonna rotate my bucket.
If you're lowering, I could try to like pull it out so it doesn't twist so much. There you go. Hey, that looks good, guys. Yeah, that looks good. Yep, that was too easy. Don't get used to that on our channel. Things don't usually go that well.
Oh yeah, screw it to it. Ready for water?
Yeah.
Water's coming up.
Okay.
Ready?
Yep.
Gonna resort right next to you.
Okay. Thank you. We got a garage door opening, folks. I feel morale slipping a little bit despite achieving this milestone, so I'm gonna run to the trailer and I'm gonna be back with peanut butter banana smoothies.
It's time to prep the last 3 panels. So we've got the panel going above the man door here, and I think this panel goes between the man door and the next garage door. So there's going to be another header between these two. The main part of this work is actually just going to be lumber splines, lots and lots of lumber. So I need to cut another one just like this and this. That'll be for the man door, and then we'll cut the same trimmers and king studs for the garage door. Thankfully, yesterday we did a lot of the work to figure this stuff out by just focusing on one garage door. We've kind of learned that as owner builders, when we're working with something new, a new product, a new system, or a new phase of a product, it's best to just take it slow. It's tempting to kind of knock out all the same pieces all at once for efficiency, but sometimes you learn something when you're going through the first phase. For example, that plywood, if I would have just cut a couple pieces and test fit it, I would have probably realized it needed to be 1.5 inches taller. That's an easy fix. But if we made a bigger mistake, it's best not to duplicate that and get ahead of yourself. Holy cow!
Wow.
I see that you brought the junior size.
It's not that big of a smoothie, it was just a little more than a pint, so I put it like in the next size up cup.
Oh, thanks, Lover Buns.
Mm-hmm, for yummy.
Wow, nailed it. So I guess I'm on lumber duty. I'll head out to the boneyard and get some of the lumber that we've been working on using up, and then Alyssa is gonna tackle screwing all these panels. Just kidding. Come on, let's do this. We can still do it. There's still time. Dang it, we were flying along, and then Alyssa went to put lumber in here, and she's like, wait, the lumber's too short, what the heck's going on? And then our fuzzy little memories were jogged that we forgot to cut these panels down. If you remember, we had to cut the other garage panels down 3.5 inches on the top. So Alyssa's now backtracking, doing double work. We're gonna get there.
We will.
This is gonna happen.
This is happening tonight.
Derailments are not allowed. a redo of our very first look
Yeah,
in the
we
hole.
do have a payback coming.
I do.
I won't do it intentionally, I promise.
So anywhere we have lumber to lumber splines and we have an electrical chase, we need to through drill the lumber to continue the chase between panels. So this is the header panel over the door, the man door, and there's an electrical chase on this guy. And what we'll probably do is we'll come across these eye joists down into that panel and then probably have a light above the door, something like that. This is going to become a major issue on the living level on the south wall. So much lumber and so many chases running vertically and horizontally for interior outlets, exterior lighting, switches, all that jazz. So I guess it's good that we're getting some practice now and realizing that the chases kind of go like this and they're not in line and the marks don't hardly mean anything. Fun. Hey, what is that mammal? What is that thing? Oh, look at that. What are you doing? Are you helping us? Are you on Carpenter Ant Patrol? Well, we're kind of running into a problem that we had last year, but we didn't have over the winter. And that is that it's getting dark later and later. Wait, did I say problem? I meant blessing. But it's a bit of a challenge because our nature is to just work until we can't work anymore. The problem in the summer is that we end up working well past dinner. Like, we probably should have eaten maybe a couple of hours ago, but here we are pounding it out. We just want to get this done. We need to get this done. So what we're going to do, I think we're going to try to get this panel and the door header panel installed, and then Alyssa's going to jump to dinner, and that'll give me time to start working on the header for that garage door over there. And maybe while dinner's cooking, I can work on that. Maybe, just maybe, if it's not too dangerous and dark outside, we'll get that header up. Come on!
It's half the size.
Come on! I think I'm gonna try something. It may or may not work well, but in the interest of trying to make this easier, I think I'm gonna mount the header panel to the side panel.
Think we can lift all that?
We'll find out. You ready to help me lift this sucker in place?
So yep, this is the inside.
We'll go.
Okay,
Got it, I got it, I got it.
we're in.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
Good.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Screw it to it! Gosh dang it.
Ah!
Nice. If I didn't know better, that looks like a door. We built a door, now we have to go buy a door.
Nice.
Kaboom! Uh-oh. Can't put that beam up till this panel's ready. So it's time to switch gears. Burm, burm, burm. Whoa, food spotting. Food, incoming food. Oh my gosh, guys, look at this.
I got this down.
Wow.
Have my silverware in here and extra Parmesan sauce.
Oh my gosh. Wow, thanks, love. I'm gonna take a dinner break with Alyssa and then maybe I'll get a little farther on this. If you see video after this, that means I kept working. If you don't see video after this, that means we quit.